Welcome to a Friday edition of Inchstones. Hug your kids, hug your kids, hug your kids, and hug your kids. For those of you listening on Spotify and on Apple, I want to thank you so much for doing that. On Spotify, there is the video. You guys can check that out. On YouTube, if you're on with me right now, I appreciate you too. Make sure that you like, subscribe, send a comment. If you have any prayer requests, anything like that, just lift them up too. Send them to me. I'll do that. If you want the production notes, I will send them out to you. So today and even last night, I had a friend, he went through some pretty traumatic things last night, and we sat and we realized what was important. A lot of things faded away, and we realized at that time that it's just about hugging your kids. Like, it's not the lessons that you teach them. It's not the things that you buy them. It's not the places that you go and all these things. It's the fact that during those times, it doesn't mean that things are bad or stuff is bad or experiences are bad or, you know, any of those things. It just means if you're not hugging your kids during the time and they don't know that you love them, none of that stuff matters. And I was hit with this reality last night because, you know, one of my friends had his son had a pretty bad accident. And so it was just one of those sobering times of looking over at my son. I was with a couple of friends also, and I just said, you know, hug your kids right now. Hug them tight. And I told the kids, look at your dad right now. You have your dad with you. Hug him right now and tell him that you love him. And I don't think that we take enough time to be able to do that. We'll see the other day, on Saturday or on Sunday last week, Maddox was, he had a doubleheader. I was so excited about it. And we were on our way to go, and he had a doubleheader for basketball. And I love basketball. I love my son. I love watching him play anything. And so I got there, and one of the teams didn't show up. So the coach turned us on to 2-on-2, and, they set him up, and Maddox was the first one up. Him and his buddy Michael, they're playing defense, and a kid went to drive. Maddox jumped up to try and block the shot, landed on the kid's ankle and just twisted his, and he fell down, and he was crying in pain. And I thought that I was a good dad because I knew the differences between the cries. And if you have children, there's a I'm hurt cry, and then there's a I'm kind of hurt cry, and then there's a I want a little attention cry. And I thought that I could decipher it. Well, I told him, get up, kind of rub some dirt on it, work through it. He was really in pain, and he was making, he was crying a lot. And I finally got to a point, and I said, you got to breathe, son. You got to breathe through this. You got to be okay. And then he looked at me and he apologized to me. And I was like, man, what an idiot dad. But I stayed with my old school stuff, rubbed some dirt on it, whatever. And then the parents came over, and they were talking to me, and they were asking me, is he okay? And I said, yeah, he's fine. He's fine. And then even halfway through the game, when he had ice on his ankle, I looked across the court, and I was like, hey, boy, it's time to get in the game. Well, we got home, and guess what? His ankle had blown up, little bruising on it, and it was really bad. And I was a jerk. And so I realized at that time that it wasn't the lesson that I needed to teach him. It wasn't I needed to teach him toughness or anything like that. He just needed me to tell him that he was going to be okay, and he needed a hug. And so today I implore every single person, if you have children, I don't care what you're going through, if they've done whatever it is, hug them right now. Hug them as tight as you possibly can. Even stop the podcast, step aside and just go and hug your kids. I tell you, it's the greatest gift that you could ever give. And there'll be the time where you realize, hopefully it won't be a bad circumstance, whether it be a friend or a family member or anything like that, but there's going to come the time where you realize that none of the stuff matters, none of it. Even the craziest things, even the things that you think are the highest of priority, that none of it matters except to hug your kids. So let's get this party started.
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopping. just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Hug your kids. I'm going to say it multiple times, as many times as possible. And it was wild because when I went down to the beach today to do a little study, I got to be up a little early because Ziggy, our new little puppy, and if you're about to get a new puppy, I would caution you from this. They bring a ton of joy. He is a cute man. He is a handsome guy. You'll absolutely love him. But there's a lot of responsibility in it. And my kids told me the same thing that every single kid tells their parents. I'll take care of it. I'll do. Now, Maddox has been doing awesome. I think that McKenna's kind of at the end of her rope with the little puppy. And our existing dog, which is Skylar, she's a Cavapoo. He's a Cavapoo. But they were not cut from the same cloth. She is mad that we brought that puppy in. But we're working through it. And the reason why I'm saying it is because my wife went to get up this morning and she is so awesome. That woman is if I've ever met a definition of a Proverbs 31 woman, it is my wife, Brooklyn. I mean, if you read Proverbs 31, all of the traits, all the amazing things that it talks about as far as a godly woman, that's exactly who my wife is. And at probably 4:45 or 5 o'clock this morning, she went to get up and she was going to, take the dog down. Ziggy was starting to move around, starting to be a little bitey. And, I heard it. I heard the jingle jangles and I heard my wife starting to get up and I was like, man, I could just stay in bed. I could act like I didn't hear her. I could act like I'm not awake. But reluctantly, I just told my wife, hey, why don't you sleep? I'll go take Ziggy. And I got a chance to be able to spend some time with him and get down to the beach today. And when I went down, I got to study Proverbs 16, is the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. And it was incredible because this is the verse in Proverbs 16, verse 3, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. And this was a verse that my pops used to say to me over and over and over again. And in verse 1, it says, to humans belong the plans of the heart, but from the Lord comes the proper answer of the tongue. And what it was impressing on me this morning as he put on my heart, just hug your kids. I went through that experience last night. And when I woke up this morning, to humans belong the plans of the heart, but to the Lord, but from the Lord comes the proper answer of the tongue. And he was helping me to understand that, this was almost as if God was saying, like, I just need to hug you. Like, I don't need anything from you. I don't need your help. I don't need your strength. I don't need any of those things. I just need to hug you. Because when I hug you and I fill you up with my love, then you can go and add that love to every single other person. And that's the only thing that really matters. And when we pour love into every single person that's around us, magic starts to happen. Is this some sort of just fluffy side? No, it's one of those things where, your talents start to come to life. Your business comes to life. Your relationships come to life when there's love and you just hug. Like, you just hug them. Like, you just hug your kids. And God was saying that this morning, like, I just want to hug my kids. And it should cause us, if we want to be more God-like and godly, we should want to hug our kids too, because it's the most important thing. And so the thing that he said to me, it was just a couple of points. And in verse 1, 2, 4, 8, 9, 11, 14, 19, 20, 25, 27, 32, and 33, which was pretty much the emphasis of this entire proverb. He said, your plans are cute, but God's got it under control. And imagine that. Imagine when you're, you have a child and they're 5 years old and they're hitting you in the knee and being like, yo, come on, put up your dukes. It's time to fight. You're laughing and saying it's cute, but you're not really going to fight the kid, right? And so a lot of times as young people, or even young in our relationship with God, or even just adults, we have the tendency to, come up to God and be like, I got all these plans. I got all these things. This is what I have to do. This is what I'm supposed to, all these things. And God is saying, that's really cute, but I got it all in control. And what I would like you to do is just spend some time with me. I want to give you a hug. And then that way you can go and extend those hugs out to other people. And those hugs won't be out of, ritual or religion. They'll just be out of love because you've been filled up first. But I want to fill you up in this. And it's incredible because in that many verses it hit. Verse 1, to humans belong the plans of the heart, but from the Lord is the proper answer to the tongue. In verse 2, all a person's ways seem pure to him, but motives are weighed by the Lord. In verse 32, I'll jump down. In here, it says, better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control, than one who takes a city. And so God was saying, it's like, your plans are cute, but I'm in control and I got you taken care of. And the second thing that he said this morning was, when you give it up, you will experience freedom, blessing, and peace, although you won't be able to take credit for it. And in verse 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, 13, 17, 18, 20, 22, 26, and 31, it reiterates that point, that we have to really just give it up. I read that one verse, which is Proverbs 16:3, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. In verse 7, it says, when the Lord takes pleasure in anyone's way, even he causes their enemies to make peace with them. When you give it up to him, and that you realize what really matters. And my pops would say this all the time to me. He would say, there's only a few things that really matter, son. And that's, the love inside of our family, and that you direct your eyes to the Lord. And direct your eyes to the Lord first, because that'll fill you up with that love, that pure love. And then that way you can go and pour it onto every single person that you come in contact with. And the reason why you're supposed to walk light is not so you could pound your chest and tell people that it's all about you, but so you'll direct their eyes to him. And see, when you give it up, you'll experience freedom, blessing, and peace, although you won't be able to take credit for it, because you'll have to direct their eyes back to him. In verse 6, 16, 18, 19, 29, and 30. And I circled verse 19 because it actually goes back to the point of that your plans are cute, but God has it under control. But in this, the statement was, love and faithfulness are the greatest currency. Love and faithfulness. The faithfulness to the people that are around you, the love. They're going to remember that love. My brother said it yesterday on the episode. If you didn't get a chance to see him on there, it was You Have to Meet My Friends. And he was talking about, he said he's a personal injury attorney. And if you haven't listened to that episode, he talked about the 4 components that you could get ready for the next accident that you haven't been in yet. And most people aren't prepared for it, but he breaks down every single thing. And one of the things that he was talking about is the fact that most people will never remember the settlement that he got them, the amount of money that they got. They'll only remember how they felt about how he treated them through the process. And at first I wanted to be like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then as he explained it, I was like, yeah, that's absolutely 100% true. Because even if you get what you want, but you didn't feel good during it, it doesn't feel as good. If you get less than what you ultimately wanted, but you felt good through that process, it hits different. Love and faithfulness is the greatest currency. If you fill people up with love, you constantly speak life into them. It's unbelievable what can happen. And that takes us right into verse 21, 23, 24, and 28. And this is where we end, is just that seek wisdom and speak life always. And if you seek wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge, and the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God, which is the respect of him. If you just simply spend time with him, see that his words and his actions are in line, then you'll have respect for him, which he'll give you wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge. That knowledge that he then brings in will be able to be put to use. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of stuff and things in your head, the useless information. But if you have wisdom before you have knowledge, then you have the right use of that knowledge. And that knowledge will give way to understanding. That understanding will give way to insight. That insight will give way to discretion. And that discretion will give you discipline. The discipline will give you strength, and it'll lead you right back to a relationship, spending time with God and respecting what his character is. And you'll receive that hug. Some of us right now need to receive that hug from God because we didn't get it from our parents. So that way, what we're doing right now is we're projecting that onto our kids. Oh, you got to be tough. I did it. I did it the other day. You got to be tough. I did it with my daughter right afterwards on that same day. I was a bad dad to both my kids. And my daughter was telling me something, and as opposed to just hugging her and being with her and, as she said, being on her side, I tried to teach her a lesson. And in teaching the lesson, guess what I got? Some tears and the connotation with the experience that we had on that day. She'll remember that forever. She won't remember what we were doing and how this thing happened. She'll remember how she felt in that situation. So first seek wisdom and then speak life. And there's ways to speak life. I just met a young lady on the beach today. She walked up as I was leaving, and she said, what are you writing in your journal? And I told her, I said, I'm studying Proverbs, corresponding proverb, corresponding day. I have a podcast that I take people through it. And what I shared with her is that probably one of the craziest things was on January 6th, I chose to start on this Inchstones journey, which is the corresponding proverb, corresponding day, which I've been doing for the last 30 years. But I shared with her when I started to do that, the listenership on the podcast actually started to drop. But as it started to drop, the engagement as far as people reaching out to me and saying, hey, I needed this on this day, started to elevate. So less people were listening to it, but more people were engaged with it. And so, and I kept praying and asking God, should I continue to talk? And she just looked at me. She was a young girl, like 22 years old. And she just said, the reason why is because you started talking about God, and sometimes people will turn off. And I remember questioning and asking God, should I stop this daily thing? And he said, no, I want you to keep going. It's not about the audience. It's about you doing exactly what I have you to do. And I will bring the audience. So it's been a humbling thing, and it's been an amazing thing. And so what I would say is just speak life. Speak life, but you have to seek life before you could speak life. And where you could seek life is through the word, through relationship with God, and through your Creator to be able to lift you up and for him to give you that hug so you can go out and give that hug to the world. I could tell you this, last night, my experience, it was scary. One of my best friends in the world texted me and just let me know that his son was not in a good space. He had an accident. And when I heard that, I saw my son and I looked at him and I said, oh my gosh, I wanted to hug him. And at some point, all of us are going to go through some sort of circumstance that is going to bring us to our knees. That is going to clear, it's almost like an Etch-a-Sketch. It's going to clear the plate and say, all this stuff that I thought was so important is not important anymore. The only thing that's important right now is to just hug my kids. But don't wait until that circumstance brings you to your knees today. Go and hug your kids right now. Hug them exactly where they're at. Love on them. But first, receive that from the one who built you and wants to give you that hug with no strings attached. This has been Proverbs 16, the corresponding proverb, corresponding day. It's Inchstones. Make sure you click the link and subscribe. There's a lot of people that watch the podcast that aren't subscribed. That's cool. I love you. Comment, subscribe, do all those things, and share it with a friend who needs this today. Go and hug your kids. That's what I'm about to do right now. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got televised.